We have White House counselor Kellyanne Conway, counselor to the president, joining us now. It is good to have you this morning.
Thank you, Chris.
So, what do you make of this switch, apparently, from the president of the United States? First, he said a day ago that he's considering he was discussing with Russia, working together on cybersecurity, guarding elections. Everybody attacks it, and then he tweets this morning, no, it was just an idea. I know it can't happen.
Well, what else did he say in the tweet? He talked about what did happen, which is a ceasefire in part of Syria, a very big development coming out of that 2+ hour meeting with President Putin. That's tangible, that's relevant, that's going to affect people's lives. And they had a broad conversation. I mean, Chris, CNN spent a full week plus doing nothing but having these screaming headlines saying President Trump is not expected to raise Russian interference with President Putin. He made it top of the agenda. It was first on the list. He pressed him early and often.
Did he press him, or did he ask him
but that's not good enough. Did CNN say he wasn't going to mention it all, or didn't they? Oh, they did, because we have this great montage of chyrons.
Listen,
people say things that just aren't true.
You know that. Well, hold on a second. One, I stand by my reporting on it. The day before the meeting, the president was very squishy on Russian interference. He said, okay, it was Russia, but it was other people. Nobody knows for sure. That was his last public statement about it before he went into a meeting, and then a meeting in which he didn't allow a note taker to be in it, so we don't have any readout from it. We hear he confronted him about it. He said, we know you did it. And then we hear, no, he asked him about it. Which is it? Did he say, I know you did it, stop? Or did he say, did you do it, Mr. Putin? Which was it?
Chris, let's back up. So you're saying use this word squishy, which itself is unusual, to describe the president's state of mind. And so somehow that makes people on CNN insist that the president is never going to raise this with Putin. And then it's, why are they still in there 2 hours and 15 minutes?
It's not about CNN. It's about what the president said, Kellyanne. He said nobody knows for sure.
No, it's about people stating things that they want America to think are facts. Aren't you the least bit reluctant, if not embarrassed, that you now talk about Russia more than you talk about America?
No.
Doesn't this bother anybody
Kellyanne, this
there?
matters. You have Donald Jr., who went from saying, I never met with anybody from Russia. I never met with anybody that had anything to do with Russia. Now he's saying he met with someone to get Oppo research on Hillary Clinton, who was connected to the Kremlin. These questions
said the word opposition research.
These questions matter.
Hey,
he
Chris,
says
do you think,
that she had information about the DNC
far.
funding Hillary Clinton. These are Don Jr.'s words, not mine. It's not about CNN. It's about what's said and what matters.
It's about all of the above. So let's break it down bit by bit. Don Jr. has very explicitly stated he didn't even know the name of the person with whom he was meeting. He agreed to the meeting based on a contact from the Miss Universe pageant. They get into the meeting, and it quickly turns into a pretext for Russian adoption, according to his statements, that the comments this woman were making about any type of information on Hillary Clinton were vague, they were meaningless. Others exited the meeting very quickly. The meeting itself was very brief. There was no information given. There was no action taken. There was no follow-up. And let me just respectfully say, as well as I can, I don't think anybody had to look very far to find damaging information on Hillary Clinton or negative information.
He still decided to take a meeting with somebody.
No, it's not beside the point. She provided it in a live loop.
With him. So it wasn't just, let's have lunch. He brought two very important people with him. It's a credibility issue as to whether or not he knew who he was meeting with. I don't know what should be more troubling to you, that he would take a meeting not knowing who it was, but it was important enough to bring Jared or Manafort, or that Donald Jr. would knowingly meet with someone with Kremlin connections on the basis of getting Oppo research about Hillary Clinton. There are huge legal and ethical implications to that decision, as you know.
You keep saying, no, I'm not going to agree with you on that. First of all, you keep on saying opposition research the way you guys constantly vomit words like collusion and Russian interference and affecting the election, all of which you have no evidence. We cannot convert wishful thinking into hard evidence. If
Don Jr. said that she had information about the DNC and Russians and funding Hillary. What do you call it?
Chris, you were just, okay, listen, you were just able to speak 2 minutes uninterrupted, and I frankly think it was more punditry than reporting. So I would like to respond now.
Please,
my friend. First of all, if you and I were in court right now, Your side would not even survive a motion to dismiss, a motion for summary judgment, because you got nothing. Okay, on this one, Don Jr. has very clearly said he was told that there would be some kind of information helpful to the campaign. It quickly became very apparent there was not. Let me say something about who goes into these meetings in the Trump campaign. We were a very small operation. I was not involved in June, but I was involved in July, and I became the campaign manager in August. It's very typical to have principals in the meeting. We had a fraction of the staff and a fraction of the money that they had over there in Clinton Inc. in Brooklyn. So it's very typical that people like that would be. You're trying to have your viewers think, oh my God, because these three principals were in there, it was imbued with some type of seriousness that just simply is not true. This was standard operating procedure for the campaign. Let's focus on what did not happen in that meeting. No information provided that was meaningful, no action taken, nothing.
Let's focus on what did happen. The woman stated that she had information that individuals connected to Russia were funding the Democratic National Committee and supporting Ms. Clinton. That's from Donald Jr.'s statement. That's why he went to the meeting.
Right. And apparently she didn't.
That is a problem, though, taking that meeting, because it goes to one of the questions of this investigation, which is, was Russia trying to get to your campaign for purposes of affecting the election? And this is Don Jr.'s own statement about it, a statement which has changed now twice about what this meeting was. That doesn't raise legitimate concerns.
Chris, you keep on saying Russia. What did this woman say? Why was she there?
This is the word that Trump Jr. used, Russia.
Excuse me?
He used the word Russia. She had information that individuals connected to Russia were funding the Democratic National Committee and supporting Mrs. Clinton. These are his words.
And then he went on to say,
this is why he took the meeting.
And then he went on to say what? No, you got to give the whole statement to be fair to him and to be fair to your viewers. Let's stop chopping it up.
He then says,
put
the statement up. Put the statement up. You're the one who's parsing, not me. Put the statement up.
Let's do it.
Put it up. Put it up. Our faces are nice.
Listening.
Put the statement up. After pleasantries were exchanged, the woman stated that she had information that individuals connected to Russia, his word, were funding the Democratic National Committee and supporting Ms. Clinton. Her statements were vague, ambiguous, and made no sense. No details or supporting information was provided or even offered. It quickly became clear she had no meaningful information. 2 points. One, even if you accept everything he says is true, and there's a credibility issue because he's changed his story twice. I'm sure you do.
Not.
He's changed his story twice. You talked about being in a court of law. Not good when you change your story. There are actual big exceptions to the law for credibility when you change your story like this. Second of all, even if it is all true, whether or not it was good information, Kellyanne, doesn't mean that it was a smart move to take a meeting with a Russian-connected person who was going to give you negative information about your opponent. That could create huge legal issues. You know that.
I admire your moxie sitting there with the CNN Chiron right near you talking about credibility issues.
Listen,
a couple weeks you guys
I could not be more proud to have that CNN Chiron next to me. I could not be more proud to have it.
I could not be more proud here representing the White House on CNN.
And I'm glad you are. I want you here because of that.
Now,
it's not supposed to be an argument.
Chris,
I'm saying this question started with, why did the president change his position about working with Russia? You spun it over to this. That was my original question.
Wait,
I never got an answer to it.
The president? What do you mean the president changed his story? The president had nothing to do with this meeting.
No, I understand that. I'm saying I asked you originally.
You wanted to produce something because you're invested in months now as a network in something that simply doesn't exist.
No, that's an assumption by you,
and
it's an unfair premise.
No, Chris. That's not true. Here's the unfair premise, that we are talking about this yet again, that you talk about Russia more than you talk about America, that the big bombshell of the day is Jim Comey having classified information, conversations with the President of the United States in his memorandum.
How do you know that?
Oh, because he's got a credibility issue, because I read the article in The Hill.
You read the Hill article that has officials familiar with the documents. So unnamed sources are okay for you on Comey, but not okay for you anywhere else, huh?
I didn't say that.
You've said it many times, my friend.
You're putting words in my mouth.
Unnamed sources is the new code word for you guys for fake news.
I'm glad that we moved on to...
But it's okay on Comey.
I've actually never uttered those two words either. But anyway, the fact is that is a bombshell that people should know about.
Oh, it's a bomb. So that report is a bombshell based on unnamed sources.
You just want to interrupt me today.
No, but because listen, no, Kellyanne,
as
please.
your grandmother would tell you, Ashpeta, Chris, listen to me.
No, my mother would tell me. You know she's a fan of yours.
I'd like to answer. Well, there you go.
Go ahead, answer.
No, I'd love her back, but listen, I'd love her back, Matilda Quinlan, but listen, this is very simple. That's a bombshell by Jim Comey because the whole country watched him testify. It was supposed to be some big Super Bowl-like event. And then what did we learn? We learned him saying, I felt as a private citizen I should release this information. Oh, but I also gave it to my friend so he would leak it to the media with the expectation it would trigger a special counsel. What was in that information? Apparently, it contained classified information because
I just
this
think it's
man was the
humorous
FBI director having 9 conversations with the president.
Look, if it's true,
this doesn't concern you at all.
If it's true, absolutely.
This doesn't concern you that the FBI director is doing what Hillary Clinton did the year before?
It all concerns me.
Which is just being so willy-nilly with classified confidential information. She did it with her server.
But I just have to smile at the suggestion from the same White House that calls unnamed sources not a legitimate basis for journalism. Now you're leaning on it so heavily because it suits you. But what I'm saying, it all matters to me. It all matters to me. That's why we asked the questions. Today. But the president saying that he wanted to work with Russia on cybersecurity and then saying, no, he doesn't want to, it was just a discussion, that is a concern. That's why he got so much criticism for it. That's what I asked you about originally.
But you don't want to talk about the Syria ceasefire. You don't want to talk about the fact that these two countries, Russia and the United States, may be able to come together on other issues that are vexing our world, like containing or defeating or putting in retreat ISIS, for example. That they're talking about a nuclear capable North Korea.
I think if there's a real ceasefire in Syria, it matters. This working with Russia on cybersecurity matters. Don Jr. changing his story about meeting with Russians when he said he never did. He said it openly and publicly, called the suggestion fake news. Then he says he did meet. Then he says it was to get bad information about Hillary Clinton. This all matters and sheds light on an investigation that you say doesn't matter. But it proves that it does matter because these questions matter. What light does it shed?
Hold on, because you and I are lawyers who never practice law, which is why we're happy people.
I practiced law for several years, but continue.
I'm sorry. What light has been shed on this investigation through all of this? And Don Jr. has sent out an entire statement. I want everybody to read the entire statement because it's important. You keep cherry picking. But what light is shed on the investigation?
Make sure they pick the right one because he's changed it twice. So they have to get all of them.
Tell me what you learned.
I learned
Tell me what you learned.
That it's not true that he never met with anybody with Russia connections. I learned that it's not true that he didn't take a meeting that mattered to investigators.
And you learned that it was vague, ambiguous, completely meaningless, and a pretext for why the woman was actually there. Excuse me.
The fruit of the meeting is irrelevant to taking the meeting.
Which was Russian adoption.
But none of that is relevant.
He added to the account of what happened in a meaningless meeting, and 3 of your colleagues were fired because they didn't change their story. They went with a story that was thinly sourced because we're always rushing to judgment.
Now it's thinly sourced.
If you can get Donald Trump and somebody around him.
We're back to thinly sourced.
No. That's
5 sources of advisors close to the president and the words of Don Jr. himself. The New York Times has 5 sources close to the White House. These are your people who are talking about this. This is Don Jr. who's talking about this.
Do you think that anything that you're talking about changed a single vote anywhere? Do you think Hillary Clinton
I don't know
lost
why your head
Hillary
has to
Clinton
go there. I want to know if Russia tried to get inside.
You've been talking about it for months.
Because you don't care if Russia was trying to get inside your campaign to affect the election.
You don't know what I care about. Why don't you ask me?
I just did. That's a question. There was a question mark at the end of it. You don't care if Russia was trying to get inside your campaign to affect the election? Question mark?
I do care. But here's what else I care about. I care about the fact that you seem to forget the Russian connections we do know about. We know Bill Clinton, not Don Jr., gave a speech in Russia for $500,000. We know that Hillary Clinton had one of the 9 votes that allowed 20% of the U.S. uranium rights to go there.
And those were all pursued and looked at?
We know that in the summer of 2016, the people who knew about possible Russian interference in the election weren't at the Trump campaign. They were in the Obama White House. None other than President Obama, John Brennan. They were informed about this. What did they do? Nothing.
Well, they did the same thing the President of the United States now did.
As did your
They wound up doing the same thing the current president did. They went to Putin. Obama went to Putin and said, stop it. And we guess one of the versions of what happened at the Putin-Trump meeting is that he said, I know you did it. Stop it. That's what Nikki Haley says. So they've done the same thing to this point.
Hey, Chris, don't you think that's a huge improvement, though, over Hillary Clinton having that G.I. Joe-looking plastic toy, Russian reset button, and handing it over as Secretary of State? Didn't you feel the least bit embarrassed as an
I don't
American
even know what that means.
Who talks
but look,
about Russia all the time?
No,
I think her idea of a Russian
not
reset
talking
and
about something like
President
this,
Trump
I literally
sitting down
don't
with
get it.
President Putin
I
and trying to find how these two countries can work together is a very positive development.
On cybersecurity, you think
glad?
working with Russia on cybersecurity of our election is a good idea?
No, here's what I think. I think these two men meeting for 2 hours and 15 minutes on any broad range of issues. Go read what Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, who's doing an amazing job, said about that meeting. He sat in that meeting. He gave a full briefing afterwards.
Right.
You can read the entire transcript of that briefing. I've internalized it. Read that. Let your viewers read it.
Well, we have it. It just would have been nice to have an objective observer in there.
Have that.
It would have been nice to have an objective observer taking notes in there, like traditionally you do have.
Who would that have been? Who would that have been? Your colleague who, instead of covering a beautiful speech in Poland, called it fake news?
What are you talking about?
And then had to retract that, huh?
What are you talking about?
We covered this speech
in Poland. We covered this speech. We gave it full voice. We gave it all different types of perspective. I don't understand why you believe that bashing CNN is going to help.
Russia? I'm not bashing CNN.
Oh, please. That's
Chris,
all you guys
do
is bash.
CNN.
I don't understand
CNN.
it. I mean, thank you for the ratings.
You want to talk about you?
Why do it?
Look. Hey, Chris, I'm on CNN right now. You want to talk about you.
And I appreciate that. It's not easy to get you here.
The media want to talk about you, and I want to talk about Americans. You know why I'm in the White House? I'm there to help the millions of Americans who couldn't keep their doctor, who couldn't keep their health care plan, who are struggling with opioid addiction, military spouses who are underemployed and unemployed. I'm there to watch people like Ivanka Trump, my colleague in the White House, lead the way for this country to invest $50 million for the World Bank to start a women's entrepreneurship investment fund. You didn't mention that in the last segment. You just tried to shiv her a little bit because she sat briefly at a table where her father, the President of the United States, had
Which
been.
was a very unusual thing to do, by the way.
Representative had done something that President Abe's no, it's not. And Angela Merkel said it's not unusual.
To have your daughter sit in for you, representing the United States at the G20?
No, she's there as a senior advisor. You should be very proud she's representing the United States everywhere she goes because she, as I just said, but you won't cover, helped get the World Bank to commit this women's entrepreneurship initiative. That's going to help women. I was a female entrepreneur for decades. It's not easy, but it's worthwhile. But you don't want to cover that.
It's just not true.
You don't want to cover the tangible things.
Premise.
It's not true?
It's not true.
Wait, it's not true that the $50 million,
we do not avoid
positive
stories about the president. You want the fact that we're covering the Russia investigation to mean we don't cover other things. It's not true. We spent 2 segments today talking to Mo Brooks, Republican from Alabama, about what's going on with health care, what needs to happen. And then, only then, did we talk about the Russia stuff. So it's just not fair, not true, and I don't believe it could be helpful to the president. But I believe that you are, and having you on the show is helpful to our audience, and I appreciate it very much.
Oh, we appreciate the platform, Chris. But look, I think CNN, I'm not here to bash CNN. I don't do that as a matter of course. So be fair to me. Hold on. But take responsibility and recognize that as a 24/7 cable station, I have great faith that you can cover all of the above. Instead of covering the same thing every 5 seconds, hour after hour, why can't you connect veterans with the information they deserve? Why aren't you telling the veterans of this country, because of this president and Secretary Shulkin of the VA, they now have a 24/7 hotline at the White House they can call. They are now seen as the same seamless patient through the DOD and the VA so that they don't have to go through all this nonsense red tape of decades that treats them as 2 different patients. Why don't you tell them about the VA Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act? Why don't you tell them about the Veterans Choice Act, that if you can't access quality, timely care as a veteran in this country through the VA, which most can, you can go access it through private care now. The president said when he was a candidate something that should animate everybody, including you, which is, if we don't take care of our veterans, who are we as a nation?
That's absolutely true.
Why don't you tell people what we're doing on healthcare, on jobs? 800,000 jobs created since this man took office.
We talk about healthcare. We talk about the jobs.
Okay,
we had the Veterans Secretary on New Day.
stories on
Thank you for
Russia.
watching
There's
the show.
220,000 jobs created in June. That's
talked about it when the jobs report came out.
I think you can cover all of the above.
We do, though.
But
We had
the
VA secretary.
Have you seen these polls?
Listen,
that say that the country, Americans want the media to move on from Russia and cover things that actually affect them?
Look,
can you look the people in the eye that you grew up with in Astoria and I grew up with in South Jersey, the welders, the carpenters, the hairdressers? Can you tell them right now that you're telling them everything President Trump is doing for them?
Listen,
$100 million committed to the apprenticeship program so we could dignify all types of careers.
My conscience is clean. My mission is clear. What I do is I cover what I think matters to people. I test power, and I take the consequences every damn day, and that's not going to change. Thank you for helping us do that this morning.
As do I, so we're the same that way. Very quickly, so if we were in court right now and you
I'm only trying to wrap you because your guys are saying you have to go, by the way, just so you know.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on. If we were in court right now and you somehow survived the motion for summary judgment or the motion to dismiss.
Yeah, it's a different standard,
what
but go
exactly would be your first piece of evidence? No. What exactly would you produce as who's your first witness to the jury or the judge here? In this case, you're trying to make day in and day out. Because I still don't see the evidence.
Well, first of all, you shouldn't see the evidence because let's liken it to a grand jury investigation. It's going on. We should wait for it to finish and see what they can bring out about it. That's what we should be doing.
You're not waiting for anything.
Look, we take the information as we get it, but we can't know the full. We can't know the full scope of the investigation. See, and that's the point. This is the last point I'm going to make. Your people are saying you have to go. This is my point. The reason the Don Jr. story matters is because you guys have been beating down the notion that an investigation into whether or not Russia was trying to find its way into the campaign to affect this election is a non-starter. It's not worth looking at. It's ridiculous. But now we know it isn't, because Don Jr., at best reckoning to him and to his cause, just got potentially set up by a potential Russian operative to have a meeting. So it isn't an illegitimate question.
Wrong.
It is by his own reckoning. That's what it is. He says that he took the meeting with someone who promised him information about it. But it was what he was promised, not the delivery on the promise. It's the solicitation that's the issue, legally, ethically, and common sense-wise. She said,
Chris,
this is what I have for you,
years,
and that's why he said he took the meeting. That's why they're investigating.
Hey, Chris, she had nothing. And let me tell you something.
Doesn't matter what she had, it's what she promised.
I've known who Hillary Clinton is and studied her, including the last couple months of the campaign when I was campaign manager. You know where I went to find damaging, negative information about Hillary Clinton? Hillary Clinton. It was like she was like a walking loop of negative information.
Look, maybe so, but he still says he took a meeting with somebody who said she had bad information about the DNC and Hillary. He still took the meeting. He says he took the meeting on that basis. What it led to, whether he needed it, whether he could have won anyway, whether Hillary has plenty of other sources of bad information, all irrelevant.
You know he won because he won. You know she was a terrible candidate.
I have no problem with screaming and saying the legitimacy of the president. Donald Trump is the legitimate president of the United States.
And you know, he also
bring it up, not me.
He also won in part because of that meeting. He also won in part because of that meeting that did have consequence, the meeting between Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton.
That meeting mattered also. But you can't pick what you like and what you don't like. Unnamed sources that are good, unnamed sources that are bad. I'm just saying it all matters. It all has to be tested, and that's what we do. And you are a big part of helping us do it.
And you can't take a meeting that lasted 20 minutes, that is reported to have lasted 20 minutes, that produced no information that was, we're told, mainly about Russian adoption, and spin that into some kind of tale and some type of evidentiary trail.
I don't see how that is at all what I'm doing. Don Jr. changed his story.
This is why the media.
Don Jr. says he met with her because she had bad information on Clinton.
Than Donald Trump or Melania Trump or Mike Pence. This is why.
He said it.
And look, he learned nothing from that meeting.
Doesn't matter what he learned. It matters why he took the meeting.
Yes, it does.
Nope.
Yes, it does. It matters completely.
Does not matter for the purposes of the investigation.
Yep.
They're looking into whether or not Russia was trying to get inside the election. He admits he took the meeting because someone was offering him that kind of information. It matters, period. It just does.
And when Americans think of Russia today, they're thinking of the conversation between the two presidents, not the lack of collusion that no one there or anyone else has proven.
Well, maybe so. It doesn't mean the questions don't matter.
It's just so obvious.
It doesn't mean the questions don't matter. I know you're pressed for time. You're welcome back on the show whenever you want.
It doesn't mean you also can't cover Comey
I cover it all.
And the fact that he has confidential information. I want you to tell Americans about health care because millions of people don't have it. They were lied to by the president. They can keep their plan. They can keep their doctor.
We're waiting on the CBO score.
Where's infrastructure?
You tell me, where is it? Where's your infrastructure plan? Where's your tax policy plan? As soon as they come out, we'll discuss them.
You're kidding, right? Okay, we'll be back for that because the president already has this huge infrastructure initiative. What about the $100 million going to the apprenticeship program so that people who don't go to college can support themselves with a skills certificate and a high school diploma or a community college diploma?
It matters.
I mean, why isn't this important?
Who's saying it isn't important?
It matters tremendously.
No one is saying it isn't important.
It's not as important as Russia. Listen, here's where you and I are different. You want to talk about Russia. I want to talk about America.
Yeah, I know, but there are also reasons for why you don't want to talk about Russia, and I do. It is my responsibility to cover things that matter to the American people, not just the things that are positive for the president. My job is not to curry favor.
What matters to the American people? What does CNN's polling, what does CNN's polling say about what Americans care about? Do they care about jobs and the economy,
Americans care about themselves and their families
security?
as they should. But often there are things going on in their lives and things that affect their lives that matter as well. And very often they're not aware of them. And that's
like
where the media comes in.
Like a 20-minute meeting that produced no information.
Listen.
I'm thinking somebody waiting in a jobs line right this second is wondering if he or she is going to get a job and health care and benefits.
Absolutely.
Not what was produced in a 20-minute meeting last
doesn't
year,
mean it doesn't matter.
A year ago.
Just because somebody needs a job, and there's so many who do, just because people are worried about their kids and their education and the nature of character and leadership in their country,
healthcare,
all of these things
security,
matter. They all matter.
Retreat.
The president spends as much time tweeting about this stuff as he does anything else. I'll show you his thread right now. Guess what? It's not filled with ideas for new jobs. All right? He's on this stuff as well, so it's not like it's all us.
That is not true.
You know, he drives the conversation.
Every time he's producing something like the apprenticeship investment, every time he went to the Department of Transportation very recently with Secretary Chao.
Here's his thread right now. Slamming de Blasio, Comey leaked, quoting Hannity. If Chelsea Clinton were asked to hold the seat, when I left the conference room, here's why Ivanka sat down. Congress should do health care. There's one.
Good.
Comey, classified information, all caps, based on unnamed sources. I thought you weren't allowed to do that, but it's okay. More Fox and Friends, more Fox and Friends. And then he goes into James Woods and the rest of his friends. Where's jobs? Where's health care? One tweet. Where's taxes? Where's his infrastructure?
You know where the jobs are? Hey, Chris, you know where the jobs are?
Okay.
You know where the jobs are?
Yes.
Almost everywhere. 800,000 created. The stock market loves this president.
And we reported it.
The economy is humming. Small business confidence. Well, I'll do it right now. Small business confidence, home builders confidence,
but I'm just saying, you're saying we don't care about
these.
these things. I just echoed the president's own tweet thread to you. Don't make it sound like we're hiding his priorities. He cares about these things also.
I'm sorry.
And he's invited on this show all the time to make his case to the American people.
Social media.
Yeah, they're official statements from the President of the United States.
Okay, name 3 things he talked about at the Department of Transportation when he talked about.
I don't know, because he doesn't talk about them, and you guys don't come on to talk about it.
Yes, he did. Okay, I'll talk about it right now. The permitting process should go
Your
from 8
people say you have to go, by the way.
3.
So you make sure that the White House press office doesn't yell at me. All right?
I'm not going to let this go.
That's fine. You can have all the time you want.
Chris,
go
stop
ahead.
being so sensitive.
Well, I got people yelling at me in my ear that you have to go.
Okay. But the
See, that's the
president, I just
two
want you to
faces
listen
of
to this,
reality
please.
we get. You're saying I want to talk to you. I got people in my ear yelling she's got to go. So go ahead. Say what you want to say.
Okay, great. So I want to talk to America for a moment.
Please.
This president and Secretary Chao at the Department of Transportation very recently did a couple amazing things to lessen this permitting process. We have these projects that take 8 years of the permitting process. They want to bring it down to 2 or 3 years. That's going to save billions of dollars and spur jobs. We have an air traffic system that was built when we had 100,000 passengers annually. We now have close to 1 billion. Can we not get any Democrats to say, hey, that's a good idea to enhance our safety and security and reduce our hassle on the tarmac and in airports. I've traveled this country with Secretary Price and Governor Christie. I was just in Tennessee last Thursday again on the opioid crisis. This is a scourge of our times. No state has been spared, no demographic group untouched. You want to come along sometime and report on it? You want to go listen to the people? You want
We
to
have a documentary coming out about this fall about the opioid crisis.
Wait.
We center in Manchester, New Hampshire, where the president was. The firefighters there still hoping for help that was promised during the campaign.
So you know what? The opioid, you want to talk about Russia, I want to talk about the opioid crisis
We talk about it on this show. I have a documentary coming out this fall.
Spouses. I want you to talk about the women's empowerment initiatives that Ivanka Trump is leading. I want you to talk about ISIS in retreat. I want you to talk about the 10 bilateral meetings that the president had in this foreign trip and the 3 Policides. I mean, there's so much success. What about the speech in Poland that tells them you are survivors? We share your spirit, your love of freedom, your love of personal responsibility, your love of... I mean, this was just such a beautiful speech where the president of the United States appealed to people in Poland. We will stand with you. And then went to the G20s, here for a couple of hours, practically a couple of days. He'll go back to Paris. And there's so many great things to cover. Please connect, listen, please connect America with the information they need. You're in a great position to tell veterans they've got help. They've got new hotlines. They have new ways to access care. You can tell people about the jobs that have been created, the fact that we're dignifying every type of work.
We do. And I let you make your pitch to the American people. I'm happy you did. The opportunity is always here. The opportunity is always here. Hold on.
Tell
don't worry
whatever
about the
6
panel.
versus 1 anti-Trump panel. We're sorry that we cut into their time.
Tell the American people something else while you're here. That they shouldn't believe all of the White House and the surrogates and your alt-right friends that want to destroy the responsible media. Tell them that they shouldn't listen to that stuff, that the media matters, and that they should judge stories on their face, and that they shouldn't think that there's some type of agenda out to get the president on the behalf of a free press.
Okay, I know you're trying to go viral here, so let me just do this before
I'm trying to go viral.
Watching this in their pajamas are writing about us.
But I'm just saying, that matters too, because you're saying I have a great opportunity.
We respect the First Amendment.
But you compromise my ability to reach people with information when you say that whatever you don't like is fake. That matters too, Kellyanne. If you're going to tell the American people what to think about,
I've never used that word.
They should think that too. No, but many around you have. And you don't have to say the word without meaning the word and attacking CNN every time you don't like what they report. You know,
you're doing an infomercial now.
I'm doing an infomercial.
You're going to have to give the money back to whoever was supposed to be doing it.
What were you doing? Making your witness? What were you doing?
Oh, excuse me. It wasn't an infomercial. It was actually telling people information they should have about jobs and apprenticeships and health care.
And that's relevant information also. The media matters. We shouldn't disrespect each other. We should give each other the benefit of the doubt. And we should pay attention to everything. It's not, first of all, it's my show. This is what I do, is I talk to the television. And if it's not me, then it's Allison talking to the television. That's the show. But listen, I think we spent enough time on this stuff today.
You just asked me about the media. First Amendment, we, of course, believe and respect the First Amendment. We believe the press has a great role in this country. You got to treat this guy more fairly. You got to treat him more openly and honestly. The snarky looks, the furrowed brows, the rolling of the eyes from so many people on your panels, and you know it. You guys have made a business decision to be anti-Trump. Okay, the country
and you guys have also made a decision. You've made a decision to be antagonistic towards the media, to lump us all together, to rally your followers, to think that we're bad people and attack us online and talk about our families and come and try and jump us and try to embarrass us.
Listen, pal,
look, it comes out of friends from the White House all the time.
We're going to end on this
I'm saying it all matters. That's all. It all matters. Everyone can do better. That's all.
You don't want to have said that we rally people to attack. Okay, you don't want to have said that. I don't want this to be about me. I know you like to say the word I a lot. I'm a 24/7 Secret Service protectee, not because it's fun or not because they flipped a coin.
And you know how I feel about that. And you know how I feel about that as your friend. And you know how I feel about that as your friend.
I know privately.
Oh, you know publicly also. I do nothing but show respect to you, and I give you lots of time on the show.
Better.
Yes, I do think that everybody can do better. I agree. I agree.
But look, this with a free press comes a fair press and a fully responsible press. And the rush to judgment, the fact that you go with one source on things and then have to retract it.
That is not how we do things, by the way.
Think about
First of all, look, whatever CNN has done wrong, it has owned in a way that is a symbol for accountability for this country, by the way. It would be nice if everybody who's wrong handled it the way CNN did. I was very proud of what this organization did. I know a lot of other news organizations and
Good.
a lot of political
people
people
why it happened,
wouldn't
though.
have done
it's
it.
the rush to judgment.
Okay?
It's the rush to be negative. Think about why it happened. That's all you need to do. It's
all
the
I
rush
know
to
is how it
judgment.
was
It's the
owned
presumptive
and how it was
negativity.
handled. How it was owned and how it was handled is a model for accountability. Everybody should handle it
Be more
that
fair.
way.
Make your why aren't your panels more balanced? Why are there sometimes
I think our panels are
across
plenty
CNN?
balanced. On this show, they're mostly journalists. All right, and we got Washington Examiner. We got everybody
Let me
from all
repeat my
over the
question
place.
then.
Yes.
Yeah, they have to be more balanced. You need somebody
Look,
who's reflecting
You're not
the
going to.
viewpoint and
If
being
you want
fair.
flattery, there's another channel that can give you that. We try and keep it straight. We go
don't
at
need
both
flattery.
sides, and we test power. Kellyanne, I got to go. We
I've
got to
already
get
been
to a
over
health
this
care.
morning.
We have to get to a health
care.
care debate. You are welcome whenever you
Healthcare
want.
reform is coming.
Thank you for making time.
Bye.